right, we're live. What's going on? How is everybody doing tonight? See if we get some viewers in here and start talking about stuff. Notification just went out because my phone beeped. Let some people start getting in here and then we'll start talking about stuff. Not sponsored by Coke Zero, just what I drank. All right. So I figured I would kind of react to a reaction, I guess. I didn't watch the video, but I watched the main video. The guys over at Positivity Incarnate, what's up? I watched the original video that they reacted to, and because quite frankly, I'm not watching them spew the same shop owner BS that they tend to. But anyway, Pollock, what's up? You know, it was a video that was about, you know, some out of touch lady that hasn't had her car worked on apparently in years, had an expensive car bill when she was on TikTok complaining about it. And it's like, you know, there's a dime a dozen video for any number of subjects. You know, doesn't matter if it's auto repair or cost of groceries or, you know, trying to buy a house, etc., etc. The reality is the economy sucks. We all know that. Emmanuel, what's up? Hope y'all are doing well. I honestly didn't think it really deserved a response video, honestly. It was pretty tame as far as most things, and I'm sure the take they went off of was the mantra in, you know, for a lot of shop owners is, you know, charge what you need to charge to make the profit you want to make, which is, I think the auto repair is pretty much the only industry where that is the mantra. Might I ask you, what do you disagree with the Change the Industry podcast? Like I said, I didn't watch that video. On that particular video, I didn't watch it. But we're the only industry that really has that mentality. Everybody else is the market dictates what you charge. So anyway, Big Sean, what's going on? Do I have a problem with Lucas and David? No. I've had several conversations with Lucas online. Not, you know, they tend to go after me quite a bit on their channel, reacting to my videos and stuff like that. I don't know who you are, so I'm not answering that. Their group is incredibly toxic. Their Facebook group is... There's a lot of people in there that just show how bad some people can be. I mean, let's be honest. And they do nothing about it. They don't, as Lucas says, they don't moderate the group. So, you know, I don't really post in there, and, you know, I don't have a problem with Lucas or David, you know, personally. I disagree with some of their stuff. That's, you know, part of being a human is to disagree with people and have a conversation about what you disagree. Big Sean, you and Bam Bam didn't have a fallout, did you? No. Haven't had a fallout with him at all. I don't talk to him either, but he hasn't contacted me. I haven't contacted him. So, you know, he likes, you know, some of the Facebook posts, because we're still Facebook friends, but I haven't talked to him though since the last time I was at the shop. But you know, anyway, it was more about the intro. By the way, was more about it really wasn't a good video to justify making a reaction video to. It really was incredibly tame, and literally the lady said in that video how out of touch she was with auto repair. She had to call a friend who, you know, et cetera, et cetera. About the only thing was her complaining about the diag fee. You know, and one, I don't agree with, I don't agree with rolling that into the repair. A diag fee should be a diag fee. It shouldn't go away. But you know, I thought it was pretty, honestly, a pretty tame video to react to. But anyway, Big Sean, I was wondering, because you said your trainee is your replacement. Yeah, I trained my replacement is what the video was. Yes, Bam Bam is the shop foreman for both the upper and lower shops. Last I heard. You know, every now and then a couple guys come in the chat from the old shop on the live stream, but last I heard he was a shop foreman for both the upper and lower shop. So wish him the best. I don't have any, you know, animosity toward him at all. So, Positive Incarnate, do you have a favorite energy drink? Monster Purple. The one that tastes like grape soda. Don't ask me why I never drink grape soda. So, but that's the one I like the most, is the Monster Purple, which is hard to find, honestly. My least favorite is Bang. Tastes good, but it's because it's a workout drink. It's not really just a straight energy drink. I drink that stuff. It's like a freaking lead weight in my stomach. So I tend not to drink those. Hawkeye 75, I've been catching up, watching your videos, bring back the jams. I appreciate you watching the videos. Got any other questions going on? Yeah, the sucky part is, the videos where I would, the old videos with Luber Goober. Because I'm cheap and I'd have to buy bangs, I'd drink the damn things. And it sucked because I always felt sick afterwards. Not really sick, but it just weighed in my stomach like a lead brick. But, you know, they're not cheap, and so I wouldn't waste them. Big Sean, you're a good guy, Mike. You have, believe it or not, helped me big time in the 6 years I've been in auto repair. Sean, I appreciate it. It's the whole point of this channel is to help people. I watched all the rest of your videos starting off in the industry, and the rest is history. That's awesome. K Clover, technical question. Do you know why manufacturers would keep power on all the time to a blend door actuator? Had one go bad and would constantly click until it replaced the bad part. If you a lot of blend door actuators will do a blend door cycle either at door opening or on ignition. So I would assume it has something to do with that, simply because they do a relearn at every either door opening. Like a lot of fuel pumps nowadays prime when you open the door or unlock the vehicle. My truck primes the fuel pump when I unlock the door. That used to be a European thing only. So I would assume it's that. But that's just a guess on my part. Positivity Incarnate, what do you do when your shop isn't busy? Clean up stuff, watch YouTube, try to be productive as best as I can, maximize what comes in. 9 times out of 10, it's probably watching stuff on YouTube or, that kind of stuff if there's no way to get any more work in. Yeah, it was cool meeting you, Big Sean. He said happy to meet you at the old Atlanta shop. Big Sean, Auto, is there anything on an auto you don't know how to fix? I ask all the veterans this. I wouldn't recommend having me rebuild an automatic transmission. I built a TH350 back in the day, and that's the last time I've done any sort of clutches or any of that stuff. So I would not recommend having me rebuild an automatic transmission. I've done gear swaps, I've done manual transmission rebuilds, but I've never done more than that transmission rebuild. So and while I can paint a car probably pretty decently, I would not recommend me doing body work. I don't have the patience for that. Crimson Knight, those triangular metal clips used to spread the brake pads, can't get them in any useful tricks. Trying to picture exactly what you're talking about. Talking about the metal clips that go on the top of the caliper if you're replacing hardware. Those vary a lot on if you're doing replacement hardware. The replacement hardware varies considerably, and that's the most likely to be built wrong. I mean, like I've had pad kits where all the rest of the hardware was great. That one was actually the wrong size, like literally was a different size than the one that went in the caliper. If that's what you're talking about, they just suck anyway, especially when they're not built right. Big Sean's Auto, what was the first vehicle you learned the stick shift? That would be a Cushman. Let's... One of those right there. It was a 3 on the tree. Yes, it had 3 wheels. I worked at Six Flags. Driving at Six Flags without a actual driver's license, by the way, not a regular driver's license or a Six Flags driver's license. It was a 3 on the tree. You know, then I learned in a K car that a friend of mine had, and then I have driven all the way up to 15 speeds. Positive Incarnate, how many years as a tech might you expect before a tech would make a good paycheck? Well, good paycheck is relative. So, you know, back when I was 19, you know, making $500 was, you know, buckets of money. But, you know, 3 to 5 years, you should be making what average median income of the United States would be. So that'd be right around $60,000 would be what I would expect. Depending on the shop you work at, you know, if you're progressing and they're progressing your pay, it should be 3 to 5 years. 2 years in the trenches, just learning. 3 to the 5 year mark, you should be making median income for the United States, and then it should be going up from there till you hit your skill limit or your shop skill limit, etc. Vandy, thoughts on nachos? I love nachos. No on the pads. So you're talking the squeal noise clips. I haven't had too much trouble with those. So I don't know if I have any tips for that offhand. You know. Sweet like an ice cone mobile. It had a flatbed in the back. We carried food on the Cushman. Manual, which are the top 2 or 3 SUVs with third row you would stay away from? Dodge, Chrysler. First and foremost, those. The Durango, the Grand Wagoneer. Just stay away from those, period. The current generation Sequoia, that would be one I would stay away from at all costs. You know, they're having a crap ton of engine problems. Just supposed to be taking care of them, but you know. Has anyone come across the new powder coated Vim mag rails? I haven't bought any new ones. Am I alone in finding the magnetism a bit weaker than the older anodized mag rails? VM claims the same magnets. Vim is usually pretty good about quality, but suppliers change. And quite honestly, that might be why they're powder coated instead of anodized, is because they change suppliers. I don't know that, but I know I haven't bought any new ones. I've spent a crap ton of money on mag rails, and not buying any more for any reason right now. Sorry. Big Sean, I know the stick shift. I've never driven a 3 on the tree. I've had one in the shop. Yeah, I've driven many 3 on the trees. All of them worn the hell out. Eric Gainer, I have a 2019 Xfinity QX50, and Fires told me they think the turbo is leaking oil and recommend that I take my vehicle to the dealership. Can turbo oil leak usually be easily repaired? QX50 4-cylinder, 2024. Said 2020, right? 2019. Same engine. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a. Can turbo oil leaks usually be easily repaired? Only if it's the pressure or return line. If it's the actual turbo, that would be turbo replacement. And if you're doing that, replace the pressure line and the return line, because pressure line, if there's any debris or clogging, because it gets pretty hot on that hose, it should always be replaced with a turbo. But no, oil leaks on a turbo itself, it's going to need a replacement turbo. So not a cheap or easy job. My coworker installed a 2018 Ford 5.0, and after it was done, it kept having a long crank, and fuel pressure was low on the high side pump. My manager ended up putting a new high pressure pump in, a low pressure pump, a tank sensor. He got fed up with it, still having a long crank, so he gave it to me to look up. NAB, my coworker forgot to put the cam bucket in the spread. Oh, I'd like to say, I haven't done that on a 5.0. I did it on a Volkswagen. It wouldn't start. And I was like, what the hell? Why won't it start? It didn't start at all. I looked over at my roll cart, and there's the freaking cam roller sitting on my cart. And I'm like, son of a... But yeah, simple things, simple. The fact that he put a high pressure pump on there means he didn't look in the hole. I mean, that's the thing is that anytime I take a high pressure pump out, like for instance, I'm replacing the pump because it's failed, I will always pull that follower out and check it. That comes from working on a bunch of Volkswagens, but that is hilarious that he went through all that for the pump bucket, or the cam bucket. I'm sorry. Joe Blanco, ever replace an engine with just a 1/4-inch ratchet, or a 3/8 is required here and there? I mean, if you've got a strong 1/4-inch electric ratchet, depending on, like, I would never attempt to do it that way. I will grab a 3/8 impact, like bell housing bolts. Always use an impact on those over a ratchet. I mean, I guess it's conceivable you could. But I've never tried. But, might have to bring out a regular ratchet every now and then to break something loose that's really on there. Big Sean, I was told if you had trouble with new hardware, just use the old as long as it's not damaged. That's what I do. I mean, I've had many a brake job. Akabono's hardware is usually good except when it's completely wrong. That's one of the things that Akabono's hardware is only okay. There's much better hardware out there, but as long as it fits, it does fine. But there's applications where it's just completely wrong, whether it's misboxed hardware or whatever. But I've had many times where the hardware is just wrong. And, go through and order hardware. It's just a pain in the butt. And, you clean up the old hardware in the South. We're not talking up north. We're not talking rusty, corroded hardware. We're talking just stainless steel hardware. You brake clean it off, take a rag, make sure that it's all clean, make sure your pads slide good. And then you reuse the hardware. It's not a big deal. Unless there's a spring involved as part of the hardware, then it does need to be replaced. Like GMs that have the little spring in the hardware that pushes the pad back, that always needs to be replaced. If the hardware is bad, you got to get something. But I haven't had that particular application have bad hardware with Akabono. Big Sean, sob story. Okay, you want a sob story? I will tell you a sob story. Bam Bam had history with this sob. And the upper shop the shop manager kept trying to shift it to the upper shop. Like, kept trying to assign it to the upper shop. And I'm like, no, Bam Bam has history with this. That's how this works. And because Bam Bam didn't want it. Bam Bam came up and tried to pawn it off on everybody else. Tried to pawn it off on Eric when he was there. And went through just trying to pawn this car off on anybody else. And that car wound up stuck in his bay for 2.5 months, I believe. And like, it was one thing after another. Couldn't find the right struts because he wrote it. The guy was like, he's going to fix it. He's going to fix everything. So Bam Bam wrote up everything on it. Struts turned into a nightmare. I think they had to get struts from like the UK or something. Something got broke. I don't remember what exactly it was, but like that was like from some obscure online seller, and it was like just everything. 2.5 months of that car sitting with the engine out of it to finally get rid of it. Big Sean, do you still have Robbie Matco Man? No, I don't. Positive Incarnate, to my knowledge, wanted to do powder coat to do more color. That may be true, Positivity, but that doesn't mean their old supplier could do powder coat. Most companies that deal with aluminum anodize, they don't powder coat. So, like I said, I have no knowledge of it. So I don't know whether it's same supplier, just seems different. The powder coat's thicker, so you're further away from the magnet. I don't know, and I haven't touched it one. I haven't even looked at, mag rails to, see the difference or feel the difference. So I can't, I don't know. Big Sean, I've replaced more turbos than I care to count. Yeah, me too. Stoic Steel, just got my Maximus 5.0 scanner in last week. So far, I like it. One scanner for auto and HD trucks is nice. That's cool. Probably the extra layer of powder coat might make things slightly further from the magnets. Yeah. Thoughts on MG 1250? don't know what the MG11250 is, so I can't give you an answer. Timothy Newman, have we discussed the Gen 2 Milwaukee M12 stubby? It looks really good, but I really don't like the bolt removal modes on impacts. Like, I don't want to go slower. Give me the bolt. I know on their the full-size half-inch impact, you turn that mode off. You can turn that mode off. So I assume that you can turn that mode off as well, because I don't like it either. It just sucks because it's like so yeah, no, hopefully you can deactivate that part of it where it slows down after it breaks it loose, because I don't like that either. It's just wasting time. Coates 910 9100, are the Noco Pro 25 amp battery chargers any good? I don't think I've. Oh yeah, no, they're fine. They're expensive. Jeez. $599 for a 25 amp smart car charger. I would hope they're good, but I don't have any personal experience with them. But I've had really good luck with Noco stuff. So I wouldn't think they'd be bad, but I can't answer directly on that, simply because I have not touched them. If it's broken, don't fix it. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. I appreciate it. Positive Incarnate, who has the longest lasting engine in a modern car? GM 3800. Duh. I mean, let's be honest. That is a very hard engine to kill. But, you know, Big Sean, my Snap-on guy was going to give me a Varus Edge with just the update cost, but Snap-on refused to update it, I guess because it's considered obsolete. Now they've stopped supporting the Varus Edge. You can't update it anymore because it's on Windows 7. Yes. Which is embedded, which is no longer supported. They used to have to send them in so they could update it to Windows 10 embedded, and then they could update it, but Windows 10 is going away as well, so it's no longer going to be up. They just don't update them anymore. Eric Jano from the north, is rust really affect on car repairs? Is it just part of the job? For me, the blue wrench is my friend. Yeah, no, I mean, at the old shop dealing with a lot of rust, the Torch stayed near me because I was really about the only one other than Bam Bam and Paul and Eric were about the only ones that had used a Torch. And my old boss was really uncomfortable with torches. He respected them. And when he he had a good fear of them, especially in a wooden building like that shop is. But you know, when in doubt, make it red. You know, Timothy Newman, I'm sure you can, but I'd really like the precision wrench mode on my Gen 1 for putting in light fasteners. I'm just concerned that they might not be able to be used separately. I haven't gotten my hands on one. I wasn't invited. They've scaled back the pipeline events, which is what they call the events now. They've scaled them back massively. And there wasn't a lot of content for automotive this year anyway. So honestly, from a business owner, it would have been a poor choice for me to take the 3 days to go up there to see a borescope and a impact and one light that hadn't been introduced yet and another light that had been introduced. That would have sucked. You know, the last pipeline event I had, God, I mean, I literally could have made, I think I did 5 videos for that week. And I think 2 or 3 videos were combo of several tools, but there just wasn't enough content to justify it, but I wasn't invited anyway. You know, I'd like to have gone to see Humble Mechanic and hang out with him and How To Automotive. He was up there as well. But, you know, I got some interesting texts from private messages from How To Automotive late on the end of that event. But anyway, I don't know. I can't answer that until I get it in, put my hands on it, and start working it. Positive Incarnate, if you're going to jump into Milwaukee brand again, like Had No Tools, which ones would you get first? Would you just go for buying packs or buy individual tools? I would probably saying money would be an issue. Obviously, if you lost everything, money would probably be an issue. I would probably get the mid-torque 1/2-inch, probably a kit with a combo charger, a couple batteries, because then you'd have a combo charger. I'd probably get the insider ratchet that's 1/4 inch and 3/8. You know, it works well as a 1/4 inch ratchet, 3/8 ratchet. And then I'd probably get either the compact or the stubby 3/8 impact. You know, that'd be my kind of restarter kits, was what I'd get. Depending on the deals I could get or whatever like that. But that's what my core would be if I was having to rebuild from scratch. If budget was a little better than that, I'd probably do the extended reach 1/4 inch, the extended reach 3/8, and stubby 3/8. Oh, and the old list, a 1/4 inch impact, or an impact driver, depending on my situation. Probably the impact driver, because it can be used as a 1/4 inch ratchet, a 1/4 inch impact. But going back to if money was less of a problem, I would probably go individual ratchets, probably a 3/8 compact, 3/8 stubby, and still the mid torque. Positive income, things to know or avoid. I mean, avoid trying to buying counterfeit batteries. I'm not talking about the obvious copy batteries because you know what you're getting into. The problem is there's counterfeit that look like they're real batteries. So I would always buy batteries from a known retailer like Home Depot or something like that. If it's not broke, so fix it. So wrong. The AMC 4.0. If we're going back that old, we got to go with the Ford 300. Inline 6 Ford. Because that was much more reliable than the 4.0. And leaked a lot less oil. Pure blood for life. I work at a steel mill. I have a blue wrench and a holster on my belt. Big Sean, I have my MAP gas torch, one at the shop and one at the home. Works all the time for my needs. Auto igniter, heads on both. Yeah. MAP gas is better than propane, but nothing beats the blue torch. Timothy Newman, dog, I'm from New England. Even the lube techs use the oxy torch from time to time. One of my buddies was doing cat studs with a torch and put it between his legs while he was using an air hammer. I have done that. Honestly, I have done that. You have to remember, I'm in the South. Okay. And it's a lot less common here to have somebody that's knowledgeable on how to use an oxyacetylene torch, unless they're from the North, unless they've, have additional knowledge. People don't use torches as much down in the South. I mean, I knew how to use a torch, could use it to cut metal, heat up stuff, have known that for years. Most techs in Georgia normally do not deal with much rust. The reason that shop had so many rusty cars was because of Atlanta's transient population. A lot of people moved from up north, New York, Massachusetts, Maine. We worked on some Alaska cars, because it's such a huge center of commerce that we had a lot of. So it was in that particular shop, it was a lot of rust. I mean, I worked at the shop that was around the corner from there, and both the techs there knew, me and the other tech knew how to use an oxyacetylene torch, and I used it a couple times while I was there. But yeah, we do deal with a lot less rust. If you don't deal with rust, you don't get to practice with the oxyacetylene. Big Sean, my shop has one of those mini oxy ace torches, but it's been empty for like 6 months. That's usually what it is. In a Neo 1100, what's a good impact for removing car tires? Please give me 3 recommendations. Milwaukee high torque or mid torque, both generally going to work really well for doing tires. If you've got air, the Harbor Freight Impact for the money is a great deal. Or you can get an Ingersoll Rand for pretty cheap as well. If all you're doing is for do-it-yourself or stuff, you can go to Harbor Freight and get the Hercules battery system, and it'll probably work fine for you as well. Big Sean, I upgraded to a Snap-on air hammer. He took $100 off for my old Blue Point. Got this gray silver color. Cool. I'm in the South. Keep bragging. Yeah. Pure blood for life. Yes, but you don't have to deal with 100-degree days up north. We do down here. Yeah, the Hercules, you know, for a home user, that'll work fine. Big Sean, he's in Atlanta. I'm in South Georgia. Really don't have a rust problem like northern folks. I'm originally from St. Louis. Yeah. If it's not broken, fix it. I'm surprised the shops in the South don't use propane. You're talking about propane acetylene. I've never seen a propane oxy setup. If you're talking about straight propane, probably predominant use will be propane or MAP gas. Big Sean, I recommend the Matco 1/2-inch air. I traded my 2 Cornwell impacts for it. Like, it was like $500, but I think they paid like $200. I mean, I don't. I use air hammers and occasional die grinder and air chuck for air. Timmy the Newton, I don't know. We've been getting pretty close these days. Last couple of days, we have a brand new AC system at my dealer, though. Yeah, brag about it. I'm curious, Timothy, what is the temperature of the shop? And yeah, oxypropane. Yeah. I figured most. I mean, you can go to Home Depot and buy propane tanks and, you know, get the Torx adapter. But you know, but let me know what the temperature inside the shop is. I'm just curious on that. Big Sean, I love the Matco impacts. I use air and cordless. I use what you like, you know. I know tons of techs that rely on air. I use electric. What gets the job done is all that matters. Chris, what's up? Autel J2534 tool on Amazon for programming. Do you have any comment on this tool? $800. The support from Autel and the manufacturers is pretty damn weak on an Autel J-Box. It'll work, but if it goes wrong, the manufacturer, I don't know of any OEM that has approved the Autel J-Box as an interface. Somebody will probably say I'm wrong. Could be. It's like using there's any problems, they're just going to say, screw you, go away. You didn't use a proper tool to do the programming. For that reason, I would recommend you just, you know, go to, you know, just go get a Cardac. Spend a little extra money and just get a Cardac. It's OEM approved for everybody. And one less thing, if there is a problem, and we know programming, there will be problems. If you call in tech support, like I'll give you a great example. We had this was during COVID, and we had a Camaro that the ECM was dead. You know, I went through, I did all the testing. It was my car, and went through and checked everything. Dead PCM, no doubt about it. It was 2 months backlogged, and okay, finally get the PCM. push the car in, hook it up, put on a maintainer, go to program it, and it kicks out a weird error. Like just the weirdest error. I screenshotted it, took a picture of it, and it was like right at the end of the day. So I'm like, this is something I'm just going to have to deal with tomorrow. And, you know, and that night there was a post, like I was going to go, I'm going to have to call tech support, go to this. There was a post in one of the groups I'm in on Facebook about that exact same error, like exact. Everything matched, wasn't the same car. And like 15 different people go, that is a bad PCM, call the dealer, get them to get you a new one. It's a bad batch of ECMs. And, you know, but if I hadn't of been using a Cardac and had called in and they started asking me questions, they might have kicked me out even knowing that they have a bad batch of ECMs. I didn't have to, but that's the kind of stuff that can happen in programming. Luckily, the service advisor was an ex-GM dealer service advisor. He called the parts people and told them whatever GM speak for a bad PCM, and they immediately warranted it, sent a new one the next day. It programmed fine. The car fired right up. I couldn't drive it because the tires were bald. But it was fixed. But that's the kind of stuff that will come in. You know, if there's any question about the interface you use, they're just going to stop helping you. So spend the extra money to get a Cardac. You know, you don't have to have a, you know, MDI or something like that, but just the, you know, Cardac is going to be the, approved by everybody as far as I know. Air is forever, cardless is convenience. Propane oxygen is okay, but doesn't liquefy stainless very well, and also doesn't burn as hot as oxyacetylene, so heat spreads out. I've heard that. I've never used propane oxygen, but, you know, not very often I heat up stainless steel, but, you know, positive incarnate, would you say a hand impact driver, the one you use a hammer with, be working on for breaking free rusted fasteners? Yes. Actually, it's a really good way. That's one of the reasons why it's used with Torx and like, you know, Phillips screws, is not only is it impacting, you know, in a rotational method, it's also impacting the fastener itself. So in you know, Phillips or Torx, you're driving the bit further in. Also, you're shocking the fastener. One of the biggest tips that I don't think is really utilized is, one of the easiest things you can do is like take the back of a ball peen hammer and shock a frozen fastener. Doesn't always work, but it you know, shocks the fastener and you break some of that bond apart. So yes, it could be useful for just stuck fasteners. If it's broken, not fix it. I know I was just asking a question for the stream. Yeah, no, I mean, you know. Richard Curtis, what die grinder do you use for roll lock wheels these days? Is it worth swapping to Milwaukee from an Air one? It's the roll lock discs that I use for cleaning hubs, and the one I use for with the OTC, because I've got two Milwaukee right angles. All I use them for is brake jobs. I don't use them for you know, cleaning heads or anything like that. It's worth it to not drag an air hose over there. If it's worth it to you for that, yes. If you already own a right angle and you're already gonna, you know, like the kind of the sucky thing for me was like I'd be doing a rear brake job where I have my air actuated rollback tool and I already have an air hose there. And, you know, every time I'd be doing a 4-wheel brake job, I would move to the back of the vehicle and the battery would die. So then I got to walk back and get a battery or swap a battery from a different tool. So is it worth it to you for the convenience is what I'm saying. Because otherwise an air die grinder is stronger, more aggressive. You can be more aggressive with an air one. You know, so it's a convenience thing more than anything else. Positive Incarnate, I've broken 2 T30s this week on arrested rotor screws, and I want a solution that's easier because my impact keeps snapping them. Yeah, get a impact driver. Again, you know, I'm in the South. Sorry. Usually I just, you know, I use my T30 1/4 inch and it runs them right out on most. Because I have to go to my toolbox to get my Snap-on T30. Because my T30's in my cart. T30 is 1/4 inch, so every now and then I've had to do that. So yeah, that's a really good way to get rotor screws out. Big Sean, I use the Snap-on gold bits on my hand impact hammer. Mine are not gold. Mine are the standard ones. I can tell you, Big Sean, Matco's ADV have gotten things out that Snap-on gold broke on. And I'm not even making that up. I've gone, you know, like somebody'd come up to me and, you know, with a broken impact bit. And they go, do you have one of these? Mine just broke. And, you know, I'd hand them my ADV and they'd go and it'd work. So, Adam, okay, bud. Scott Ennis, OEM exhauster, a type of stainless. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, they are. Oxypropane will not easily liquefy cut through a lot of OEM exhaust. You need to get it cherry red to blow through with an oxygen blast. Timothy Newen, Adam, he's commenting about Adam said AI is going to replace us all. AI ain't replacing us. Not in this industry. On the technician side of it, it may replace service advisors, but not us. Somebody's still got to turn wrenches until they invent fully autonomous robots. Can't just liquefy it and cut like a junk Walker exhaust, for instance. Oh, yeah, Walker. God, I hate that crap. Oh, I have had to make so much Walker crap fit. It's like just amazing how poorly they design that stuff. Chris Storbax, do you feel like Tortino's pizza rolls aren't as good as they used to be?
Should I upgrade to something that's a bit better quality? I don't like the idea of weekly payments though. Thanks. I can't tell you the last time I've had Tortina's pizza rolls. I'm a Hot Pocket guy, not no pizza rolls. I want my Hot Pockets. I mean, I understand, Chris. Will it work? Absolutely. Things go wrong, you may not have support. It's a decision you'll have to make. Big on auto. Honestly, was it a lot of work moving your wall of Rebels when you moved out of Anthem? No. There's a really good tow company here in Atlanta. He loaded both the toolboxes and my roll cart, the matching roll cart, loaded up in one load and drove it down the road. So, and then he did it again. So, yeah, it wasn't a big deal. It was just money. So, you just got to find a good tow company that'll move toolboxes. Quick Wrench Tool Jockey. I've seen the new Snap-on tap and die set. Very nice and priced not super crazy. Cool. That's the stuff they brought in-house, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, Snap-on knows how to do metallurgy and all that, so you'd think they'd be able to do tap and dies. I honestly thought it was crazy that they didn't make their own tap and dies or air hammer bits, considering they're already have a foundry, etc., etc. So that is always crazy. Shot didn't come back up. Those were a lot bigger in person than I thought. Well, I mean, they're triple banks. So it's 12 feet plus the locker. All right. What other questions we got? We can go back through chat and see if there's anything I missed. Doesn't look like it. What other questions we got? Oh. If it's not broken, fix it. The thing to remember when a company decides to bring something in-house is the tooling. It costs big money. Yeah, I know that, but Snap-on's not a small company. And they've been making tools for a very long time. You figure they would have, the tap and die kits from Snap-on were incredibly expensive. That was one of the biggest things I was pissed off about when I found out my Snap-on tap and die set was Irwin. But You know, it is what it is, but it's just kind of always one of those crazy things that you just don't think about being, you know, you just assumed it was made by Snap-on. Big Sean's Auto, what's the craziest car you've ever worked on? Mercedes-Benz AMG twin turbo. That thing was a freaking rocket. I just did brakes on it, but it flew. Chris Dorback, I talked to Tex about the inspection labor from your video. We bumped labor matrix and they didn't see razzled about a 0 hour time since we can sell a lot of wrecks. You know, that's between you and your Tex. Most, you know, and the truth of the matter, Chris, that video, you know, it was really about, it's a lot about more the problems this industry perpetuates. Hourly techs, you know, everybody sits there and goes, oh, hourly, pay your techs hourly. And then they do stuff like that. And it really doesn't affect anything about their bottom line, except it affects that tech's ability to get raises because they're constantly behind in their hours. You know, they're constantly having to make up that time. And yeah, it sells stuff, but you know, and that was really where I was going with that. You know, flat rate techs have dealt with it for years. I mean, I can't tell you how many inspections I've done where I didn't get paid. But you know, that's the thing that perpetuates in this industry is that, you know, your techs don't care, but a lot of techs do. The ones I talked to were not happy about not getting paid on those inspections. And a lot of them were not flat rate. So take that for what it is. Our Mac Pliers, good. They are decent, best way to put them. I wouldn't put them, you know, high on the list, but they're not Harbor Freight quality either. You know, the Harbor Freight stuff, not the Icon. But they're decent. Scott Ennis, thoughts on how a snap-on scope can't do the job you need a Pico scope. I have a Gen 1 Zeus and the UI is decent enough. I use the Pico less than I used to. Scott, the stuff the snap-on scope can't do, is really the very, very, very advanced kind of stuff. You know, the stuff that, you know, to be honest, you know, a lot of record time, a lot of difficult math kind of stuff. You know, the kind of stuff that, you know, would be in a Super Mario video. Average every day, 100% you can diagnose every car with a snap-on scope. With that said, I prefer the time-based setup of the Pico over the snap-on. Record a lot of time, and then you can stretch out the time on a Pico, whereas you can only zoom in on a snap-on. With that said, my snap-on is still my go-to quick scope. But yeah, you can absolutely use a snap-on every day to diagnose cars. You don't have to have a Pico. Chris, I can see when getting pissy when your SA can't sell or strict labor hour pricing policies. What's up, Henry? Bass Network, what do you believe is the best way to test intermittent short to grounds or intermittent open circuits wiring issue? I'm a GM heavy line tech and getting into more electrical diag and looking for tips. Intermittents suck no matter which way you tip it. Biggest tips I can give you on intermittent is hook up a like one way to do it would be hook up a test light to the circuit you think is affected. Obviously have it grounded on the other side, but have it lit up, and then move the harness itself in various places. If it's intermittent, it's going to be a broken wire that they're kind of touching like this. So shaking the harness will pull them apart and that light will go out. That's probably going to be one of the best things I can tell you to do. Other thing you can do is look on a scan tool or a scope while doing that same test for dropouts. Like if you're on a 5-volt reference circuit, have back probed on a scope, shake the harness, move the harness, working your way down. But that's going to be the biggest one, is you're going to need to figure out the area where it's broken. And that's the best way I know how to. Big Sean, the owner of my shop, is a big Snap-on fan. Our balancer, tire machine, diag center, all Snap-on. Yeah, he probably AI flat rate master. Okay. Let's go to channel. That's interesting. Anyway, difference of $15, $25 an hour versus $30, $50 flat rate. I'm not going to get, Chris, I'm not going to get into underpaid hourly techs. Every time I talk about, hourly techs don't make as much as flat rate techs. I get blasted from both sides. The hourly guys that go, I make this much money, and the hourly guy, so anyway. Big Show, my only complaint on the Snap-on tire machine, I hate the fact that duck bill is in the back instead of on the right side like most traditional ones. It's John Bean. They're a little weird. Scott Ennis, that was my feeling as well. Pico is much better for ignition waveforms. Yeah. But you can still use Snap-on. And Neo, I'm doing my brakes and clutch myself. Is a portable electric vacuum pump a good tool investment for the task? No. If you're talking about bleeding the brakes and clutches, get you a pressure bleeder. There's adapters for the clutch master cylinder as well. Pressure bleed. Way faster, way easier. So Noctua. Feel like I'm getting trolled a little bit with these channel names, but anyway, right to repair. The problem I have with right to repair, as it stands right now, shops have access to every manufacturer's service information. You have to pay for it. Shops have access to every manufacturer's scan tool programming files, again, you have to pay for them. It's all available. It's not counting Tesla or, the EV companies, but every traditional manufacturer. Every bit of their information is available to buy. Their scan tools are available to buy. Their programming files are available to buy. It's shop owners not wanting to spend the money. They want to, they want to work on Mercedes-Benz, but they don't want to spend $22,000, $24,000 for the scan tool for a Mercedes-Benz. So they want everything cheap. And you want to work on Mercedes-Benz, you kind of need the right tool. But that's what it comes down to, is misinformation, especially on that side of it. Like, oh, we don't have, like the videos talking about the misinformation of the security gateway. I don't agree with the security gateway, but it's not like it locks you out. You just have to have an account, pay the one-time fee, and have internet. And it allows you to do everything you need to do with a updated scan tool as far as clearing codes. But it's like, oh, this is the great lockout. Same thing with the security stuff. It's, if you don't know, in order to do any sort of key programming, you have to have a license. It's not a locksmith license, but it's a license in the same body, yada, yada, yada. It's a lot of stuff that isn't necessary. And right to repair, I think, on the automotive side is very unnecessary. It's just a lot of, shops and groups that are in the automotive industry don't want to pay for it. They want it given to them, like the manufacturer's obligated to sell you their proprietary information for free. That's my problem with it. I mean, and keep in mind, it used to not be this situation. It used to be incredibly difficult to get information from any of the European companies. GM has always been really good. Ford was mediocre back in the day. Asians were hit or miss, and it's not that way anymore. Nowadays, BMW is freaking awesome to deal with as far as scan tool, as far as service information. You do the subscription for a year or a day. You get programming files, as many cars you want, service information, everything is part of that tool. And it's not really that expensive for what you get or able to do. Toyota is awesome. Their TechStream interface doesn't really matter. And it's a complete suite. GM used to be really good. Now they've gone the way of fucking hell. But tokens and all that crap. So it's available. There's no reason for additional laws for stuff that's available. Just people don't want to pay for it. Kind of a rant, I'm sorry, but it just annoys me because it's like everything's available. You just have to pay for it. Been getting tons of intermittent complaints. The newer the car, the more sparse you can duplicate. Yeah. That has been my take as well. A lot more intermittent communication faults, etc. It sucks. I have a tire machine balancer, brand new, great text. Matt Eberl, Snap-on. Yeah, I mean, it was a joke about John Bean, okay? If you don't know, for everybody else, John Bean is a Snap-on company, they're the company responsible for Snap-on's tire and alignment stuff. They also do Hoffman. It's a brand under Snap-on, like Challenger lifts, a bunch of other companies. But anyway, there was just a joke about, John Bean's always a little different. But it wasn't a knock on their equipment. Their equipment's fine. Big Sean, I make enough to keep my family off the streets. That's all I care about. Hey, feel you make enough money? That's cool. Jatario, what vehicle systems become more complicated? Do you think more specialty shops should pop up that focus on one or two systems of the vehicle? Honestly, I honestly think the industry should move to less of the all makes all models model and go to more specialty shops, meaning they limit on what cars they take in, so you can train your, to give a great example. I don't know. The owner died years ago. The original owner, his partner, it was two original owners, I should say. Continental Imports down in Gainesville, Florida. I think it was Gainesville. Steve Brotherton and his former partner who passed away. Their kids now own the business, but they built that entire business based on specialty. And I've met him a couple times before he passed, but they were, dealer level techs across the board. Not saying bad things about dealer techs. These were excellent dealer level techs that could fix the same kind of issues that a dealer would. They had all OEM equipment. When they could. Back in the early days, they had to buy clones because Mercedes and BMW would not sell them. But I think that's the model that really shops should be going to, is where they, lessen the amount of different kind of vehicles they work on and specialize. Get so your techs know every car in the car line you take. But it's hard for shop owners to justify that because work on everything, work on tractors because, might make a couple bucks on it. So I don't think that's going to happen for the overall industry. But that would be the best way for the industry to properly serve the public, would be, this shop works on Toyota, Honda, Lexus, this shop works on Subaru, this shop works on, Chrysler products, this shop works on BMW, Mercedes, et cetera, et cetera. Because you could become experts of that car line if you only work on one car line. I've worked on everything my entire career, and there's no way I'm going to know on that Lexus. That's how you do, that's where this is and what this is. So, but anyway, Neo says, pressure bleeder is, thanks. 66C10, what is your favorite OEM scan tool who did it right? I loved the IDS back in the day, Ford IDS. I know a lot of people rave about the Chrysler tool, YTech, but I've never actually used it. I've used the IDS extensively before they messed it up. Loved that tool. TechStream for me was always slow, but I've only used a clone that I kept getting told it was a real version of it. But anyway, but IDS was my favorite OEM scan tool I've ever used. Second would be BMW. Their scan tool and system. But it's a little clunkier than IDS. That Embry out here in Black Hills, South Dakota, shops don't like to spend money for proper tools. Like Mr. G says, if you update, you evaporate. 66C10, what pressure bleeder would you recommend? We have a BG machine at work, but would like one at home, maybe Midi-Vac. Either the Midi-Vac or the... gotta keep recommending this. Motive Products is the other one I would recommend. The Motive Products one I've actually used years ago, but that one or the Midi-Vac would be the ones I recommend. Quick Wrench Tool Junkies are good low cost pressure bleeder. You would recommend the Motive Products. That one is, you could buy it with a single adapter or a couple adapters. They have lots of different kits, so you don't have to buy everything if you don't need everything, or you can buy the whole kit. If you're going to do that, I would go to Midi-Vac, but that's pretty affordable kit. Like basic kit with, I guess, a European adapter is $70 at Jegs. So the adapters is where the money is. Big Sean's Auto. Have you ever witnessed a car fall off a lift in person? Twice. At the same shop. Neither time was it me. First one was a F250 light duty, and we had the old air over hydraulic lifts in the floor, and the forward frame kicks up real fast and heavy, and the tech that was working on it, put it right there at the edge, and with the customer watching, pump right on the axle. Vehicle was not damaged in any way, but the customer saw it happen, so there was a lot of concern. Wasn't my problem. At that shop, I was a lead tech, and that was it. Owner had to deal with that mess, and we had an old air over hydraulic alignment rack, and a Chevy Impala rolled off the rack. And well, no damage either, other than a whole lot of scraping on the frame. Now, since you mentioned that, Sean, I'll tell you some stories. So I worked as a regional sales manager for Challenger Lifts back many, many years ago. And I had one part of my job was investigating possible lift failures. And I'll give you two of those ones I went to. One was a shop that the building used to be a rhino liner or bed liner shop and like tint, and the concrete was messed the F up. And the installer was also the guy that sold the lifts, and it was a major company, and all the company did, and there was a whole lot of he said, she said, and it went way above my pay grade, but the concrete was messed up, and they literally did a sheet coat of concrete, and like it was like 4 inches of concrete or something like that on top of this concrete. Wasn't reinforced, and every lift in that shop pulled the anchors out of that concrete. and they were trying to blame Challenger. And like, I went in there and I'm like, one, is this Quikrete? Because where the anchors had pulled out and the lift had already been removed, the concrete was like dust. Like you could literally pick the concrete out of the hole. It was determined that they did a skim coat. It wasn't reinforced. It wasn't 3,500 PSI concrete. Just blamed on the installer. Like the salesman that had a side business installing lifts who installed these was like begging me to make something up that it wasn't his fault. And I'm like, dude, I can't lie. This is not on Challenger. This is on you and whoever did the concrete. And he was not happy, but he didn't keep his job either. The other one, and this is user error. We did, Christian Brothers, Challenger lifts, all their new locations have Challenger lifts installed. And so we had a new installation that had a very late model Chevrolet truck fall off the lift. And it fell, damaged paint because it hit the like the door seams or whatever, because it landed on the arms. And you know, they're like, oh, these lifts suck and suck and suck. And they were the new Challenger at the time, CL10 V3, so they had the 3-stage arms. And I go in there with my new 2008, maybe, I don't remember, Duramax. And I like, listen, I got to figure out what's going on. Tech, you know, this is your you know, lead tech, shop foreman. Pull my truck in like you're gonna pick it up, set to lift up, and let me see what you're doing. And he did. I walked to, and you know, this is lift 101. I went to the back of the vehicle and literally was picking up the back of my truck. And what it was is it would teeter on the lift because they had lifted it wrong. And because GM coats their frame with wax or whatever the hell that undercoating crap is they put on their frames, the rubber pad would stick. And because it was a drop-in insert, their old lifts didn't have the drop-in inserts. Their old lifts were the old fixed screw that only go up and down. Well, these had the drop-in 12K adapters, and I literally could have dropped my truck because I watched the adapter pull out of the lift arm. And so I literally got in my truck, pulled a couple inches forward, remounted it, pulled back, you know, lifted it back up, and couldn't lift the back of my truck because it was actually properly spotted for that lift. So I almost dropped my own truck because somebody else didn't know how to spot a vehicle properly. Matt Embry, specialty shops are the way it will go. My shop is drivability, electronics, wheel and tires. That my place is not a high volume shop. Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with drivability as a, you know, across the board is systems are very divergent nowadays. You know, it's, you know, I wonder how long before a lot of shops just can't fix cars anymore. I mean, if you go through TikToks, there's probably hundreds of videos talking about, you know, Chrysler products, locking them out because, you know, the stupid gateway module, and there's $50 and an updated scan tool and you get through an internet connection, you know. Anyway, Big Sean, I'm always skeptical about large trucks on my 2-post 250s, 2500s or higher. I use jack stands and creeper. The biggest thing about 2500s or F250s is what's in the bed. F250s, CK 2500s do not exceed the lift capacity of a 10,000 pound lift. However, if they've got a bad box on the back, they have a lot of stuff in the back, very easily to exceed the capacity. So, but if you feel safer using a jack, go for it. In the shop, just saying, been using the Harbor Freight impact driver, the Hercules one, put it through the paces every day for a year now. Can't knock it. I grab it over my Matcos and my Makita. Am I wrong? If it's working for you, man, that's awesome. It's working. Hey, it's working. Chris, I'm looking to buy a 4-post drive-on lift to service our F550 fleet of trucks. What lifts would you recommend? Which one would you stay away from in your experience? 4-post, stay the hell away from Benpack. Benpack is a Chinese rebrander. They are certified, but the biggest problem with Benpack is they change suppliers a lot. Like just getting cables for a simple 2-post lift, you have to measure them. Your installers will hate you if you buy a 4-post lift for a for them to install, because Benpack lifts are notoriously horrible to install because they're very little is actually built on those lifts, and you have to kind of do a lot to put them together. What capacity are you looking at, Chris? Would be one of the biggest questions I'd have. F550s, probably 18,000 pounds, maybe 30K. I mean, on a 30K, 4-post, I would go Rotary or Challenger. Both will give you good service. Actually, let me see. Redline Engineering. Let's check that. Four-post. Oh. Wait. Oh. Sorry, I was looking at Challenger's logo. But yeah, the Challenger. But I will tell you this little secret right here. The Challenger lifts that I just told you about, as far as I know, are still made by Whip Industries. So if you're, if you have access to this company, they're made in the USA. They're made in Fort Worth, Texas. Whip Industries. That's who makes them for Challenger. So if you don't want to pay the rebranding fee, you can go to Whip, and they make them for you. Scott Ennis, a lot of shops can't fix cars anymore. Yeah. Oops. Let's go back off of that. 18K. Chris, same goes for that. 18K, still made by Whip. The 15K is made by Challenger, but Challenger, Rotary, or Whip. Scott, what percentage of people working on cars can read a wiring diagram or use a dial indicator on a brake rotor? Dude, there's no way I could answer that question. The thing is like, I don't work in shops that don't employ a lot of people that can't read a wiring diagram or use a dial indicator. So I can't answer that question, but it's a lot. Hawkeye 75 thoughts on a 10,000 pound 2-post lift. Rotary, Challenger, Mohawk. There you go. Mohawk's overkill for a 10,000 pound lift. And it's annoying because you have individual column unlocks, and if they ever get out of sync, they suck to resync. But Challenger and Rotary are both very good lifts. Forward are Chinese made, decent, quality lifts, and Challenger's Chinese manufactured stuff is good as well. As far as I know, they've changed them. So that's what I would go with. Honestly, for me, I would go with a Challenger CL10 V3. If costs were concerned, I'd go with their Chinese, cheaper. I think it's used to be the VS10. I don't remember what it is now. In the shop, I used to be an RAI, Rotary Authorized Installer, an ALI inspector. Scenes building disappear from tornadoes, but the lifts were still standing with the car still on it. If a lift is properly installed, it ain't going nowhere. Big Sean's Auto, my three twin posts are 9,000 pound rated. They're still going to be under 9,000, Sean. But 9,000 are pretty old. If they're a name brand, they're going to be pretty old lifts. So understandable if you don't want to pick up that kind of vehicle with it. Matt Embry, loved my Challenger 12,000 pound lift. Had a Challenger contractor install it. Told me how to maintain it. If I get a big track, have the snap-on quick screw jack for additional support. You should always, on a big, bulky, or long vehicle, have a jack stand under it. Working on like crew cab dualies, stands on both ends. In the shop, I think Snap-on has a little pull in Challenger. No, they outright own it. I worked for Challenger when it was owned by the former owner. It has since been 100% sold to Snap-on. And they've got a new building and plant in Louisville, Kentucky. But yeah, it's now 100% owned by Snap-on. I don't know the details of that deal. When I was working there, the owner specifically said he would never consider selling Challenger. And then he sold Challenger. So anyway. Now, I'll say this quick note: if y'all are, win the lottery or whatever and can install in-ground lifts, don't waste your money with Challenger. Get the rotaries. The Challengers are literally a ripoff of Gen 1 in-ground rotaries, and they suck. At least it was sold to a good company. Depends on your opinion, Snap-on. But yeah, it was sold to Snap-on years ago. So. The former owner of Challenger has the or at least when I work for him, has the largest freestanding horse barn in the state of Kentucky. And there was not a horse in it. He bought it in a foreclosure, and some couple built it and lost it, and he bought the house, and it's a beautiful house. All right. CJ 200A versus Scott Donovan, thoughts on the Snap-on CJ 2002 puller set versus the OTC 5434. Looking for a good kit for pulleys and gears. The Snap-on Master Kit. CJ 2000S. Make sure we're looking at the same. 2002. 2002. Okay. I can tell you I own the Snap-on kit. Scott Donovan, CJ 2002. I own that kit. I don't own the OTC kit. I think either will work fine for your applications as long as the jaws will fit. But they're both should be good for what you're looking for. In the shop, cool. I remember going to rotary training one time in Kansas, and they had a Challenger erected in the plant. Rotary loved going after Challenger lifts. They just loved, like, I'd go into rotary selling companies, and they they hated Challenger, and it was always hilarious. I mean, it reminds me a lot of the hubris of Snap-on dealers, which is ironic. But when I was working there, it's like, God, dealing with these rotary people are like dealing with Snap-on dealers. They're just have drank the Kool-Aid. And they always wanted to go after Challenger for, you know, whatever reason. I always sold on my features over rotary, you know, but, you know, different strokes for different folks. Big Sean, when do you stream? Every Thursday? Every Thursday that's not a holiday or anything like that. Starts at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. It's pretty much the same time every week, Thursday. Boosted, how do you recover from a messed up backstory? Did my first engine and jump timing. Dude, you just gotta move on. Fix it and move on. That's all you gotta do. It sucks. Doesn't, you know, people make mistakes. You know, you fix it and move on. You know, I mean, the thing is you were doing your first engine. It unfortunately happens to the best of us. Happens to experienced techs. I mean, let's be honest. You know, so you just got to pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and, you know, make sure you're doing it right. And, you know, I don't know the story, but, you know, parts can be bad. You know, I've had ASN belt tensioners on a Honda timing belt kit go bad out of the box. It didn't jump time. It just made a shit ton of noise. You know, I've had a tensioner go bad on a 5.0 Ford, like badly. I mean, it just completely broke apart, and all I did was bolt it in, make sure everything was timed, pull the pin, put all the covers back on, you know, making sure everything stayed lined up, and it broke. You know, I remembered that job, and I was like, I didn't try to recompress it or anything. It was literally, I bolted it in, pulled the pin, and it failed. Sometimes that kind of stuff happens. But yeah, like Matt Embry says, we all make mistakes. Learn from it. Figure out where your mistakes were and correct them. But yeah, everybody makes mistakes. I have said this so many times that it annoys me to no end that people don't get this. Everybody has comebacks. If a shop says they don't have comebacks, they're lying. If a tech says they don't have comebacks, they're lying. Now, how often those comebacks happen, that's a very different story. If you have a comeback maybe once a year, that's awesome. You know, every couple years even. But you still had a comeback. You know, so just learn from it, move on, figure out what you thought was, you know, figure out the mistake you made, learn from it. Learn that, you know, one of the best things you can do is figure out a order of operation to eliminate any actual errors on your part, you know, whatever it may be, you know, marking with, you know, like paint or something like that. In the shop, I like the tall man option Challenger has. Have you ever had one of those lifts? If you ever use one of those lifts, you will be spoiled and could never be satisfied with any other lift. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, you know. All right, it's been close to 2 hours. I think we're going to go ahead and call it here. In the shop, I think Benpack started the tall man trend. I believe they did. So, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and close it out here. Go smoke me a cigar. Go take a shower. Do it all again tomorrow, except not live streaming. So I appreciate everybody for stopping by. You know, Lanzo Slays YouTube. Best advice for a new tech just placed on flat rate. How do we flag enough hours with little experience and tools? That sucks. First off, Lonzo, figure out as efficiently as you can. Write up as much legitimate repairs on each vehicle you can. Don't cheat people. Don't write stuff up that isn't legit. And then try to economize your movements, your actions, to try to stay as much time working on the car as you can is the best advice I can. I'm sorry. I hate that's one of the biggest things about flat rate that sucks when they kick you onto flat rate early. So all I got to say is good luck, but just maximize how much time you're spending on the car per car. The best thing you can do is get as much work on each car as you can legitimately. Don't steal, don't cheat. But make sure your quality stays high because a comeback doesn't pay the bills. Chris, what's the tall man option? It's an extended lift. The lift actually lifts higher, Chris. That's what that is. Instead of stopping at 6 foot, I think it goes to 6'5", I think. Don't quote me on that. But the lift just is physically extended, so it goes up higher. I think it's about $1,000, $1,200. I mean, that was years ago. $1,500 in the shop, and don't take on what you know. That's a good point. Lonzo, good luck. Hopefully it works out for you. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and go. I appreciate everybody watching. As always, thanks for watching. I am the Flat Rate Master.